All right, here we are reviewing. So first we're going to start solving this quadratic function by completing the square. First we have to figure out what c should be. Now the way you do this is you divide this number by 2 and then square it. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared comes out to 9. So the c is supposed to be 9, positive 9, right? So everything else stays exactly the same. Okay? Actually, this is going to change, but you'll see how. So now you got to ask yourself, how does the 12 turn into a 9? Well, I subtracted 3 to get there. So whatever you do to one side, you have to do the other. So you're going to subtract 3, and it's going to make 16 over here. Now this is a perfect square. How do you figure out what the answer to the perfect square is? Is you divide this number, which is negative 6, by 2, and now you know this equals x minus 3 squared. Now if you do x minus 3 times x minus 3, you'll get this exact answer. So that's how I know that I can reduce this. Now this is just 16. Now why did I create a perfect square? So then I could square root this and get rid of that and square root this part. So the answer now is just x minus 3 equals positive or negative 4. All right, so now you're going to have two answers. X minus 3 equals positive 4, or x minus 3 equals negative 4. Now, the reason why this can be positive or negative 4, because you don't know the square root of 16. It could be 4 times 4 equals 16, or it could be negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. So there's two possibilities. So we've done both possibilities, and we solve. Add 3 to both sides, x equals 7. Add 3 to both sides, x equals negative 1. All right, so that's me completing the square. Now, how do you solve this when there's a number in front of the x? How do you complete the square? Well, you divide everything by negative 2. Whatever number is in front of the x, you're going to divide everything by. So our new equation is x squared minus 4x plus 9 equals 0, because that divided by negative 2 is still 0. Now we have to figure out what's the perfect square for this. So if I divide this by 2 and I square it, that makes that 4. So now I have x squared minus 4x plus 4. So how did I turn that 9 into a 4? Well, I subtracted 5. So I subtract 5 on this side equals negative 5. Now, I already know this is not going to have a solution. Now I'll explain to you why. This is going to be x minus 2 squared equals negative 5. When I square root both of these, there's no answer for the square root of 5. So this never hits 0. So this graph actually looks something like this. It never touches 0. The one up here had two separate solutions, so it actually intersected with 0, so it looks something like this. It hit 0 twice. So why? This one doesn't. The second you get a negative number over here, there's no solution. Okay? Now, we're just going to pretend, so then you see the solution. If this was just 5, let's say you just got 5 here. Okay? You have to square root both sides. And now it's a positive number, so now it's x minus 2. Now, this is just an example. You don't get to just change it to negative whenever you want. It doesn't work that way. So you don't get to change a negative into a positive whenever you want. So the answer for here is square root of 5 here, because there's no square root of 5. So now we move the 2 over here, so it's x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 5. And that's my answer for this problem. And that's it. All right, now we're going to do the quadratic function, which is that right there. I'll let you take a look at it. You can pause it and write it down if you want. I don't look at that anymore. So now you should know that A is 1, B is negative 12, and C is going to be actually 20 in this scenario, because I'm going to move this. This can't be here. I'm going to move it to the other side. So this is going to read x squared minus 12x plus 20 equals 0, because you want that to be 0. Now we're going to solve this using the formula that I showed you above. So 12 plus or minus the square root of 144 minus 4 times 1 times 20, which is going to be divided by 2a, which is 2. A is just going to be 2, because 2 times 1 is 2. All right, so there's our equation. Now we got to figure out what's going on in here. 4 times 1, negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 20 is negative 80. 144 minus 80 is going to be 64. So this is going to read like this. 12 plus or minus the square root of 64 divided by 2. Well, the square root of 4 is 8. So this has two answers. One of the answers is going to be 12 plus 8 divided by 2. And the other answer is going to be 12 minus 8 divided by 2. So 12 plus 8 is 20, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. Or 12 minus 8, which is 4, divided by 2 is 4. Wait, 2, sorry. What's going on with Castros today? 4 divided by 2 is 2. So these are the both solutions. X equals 10 or X equals 2. All right? And now we're going to solve this one. This one's already set up for us. So we'll solve this one right now. We'll do the same thing. So it's negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4ac divided by 2a, which is 6. All right, so this square root here is going to be 25 minus plus 144. So 25 plus 144 is 169, which is square rooted. So now we have the answer, negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 169 divided by 6. Now, if there was no answer for this, this would be my answer. I am done, but there is an answer for this. Okay? Negative 5 plus or minus 13 divided by 6. So now I have to do both. I have to do negative 5 plus 13 divided by 6, and we have to do negative 5 minus 13 divided by 6. So negative 5 plus 13, that gives us 8. 8 divided by 6 can be simplified. So 8 over 6 can be simplified into 4 over 3. And there's my solution. Or it can be negative 5 minus 13, which gives us negative 18 divided by 6, which will give us negative 3. So those are our two solutions there. Next is graphing. Now this, the step function, means that you're always rounding down. So whatever answer you get, you're going to round down. So I've recommended to put negative 1 in the equation, 0 in the equation, and 1 in the equation. And then the last one you try is 0.5 as your x. Remember, the number you're putting in is x. The answer you get is y. So if we put negative 1 in this equation, so negative 1. So we put negative 1 in this equation, our answer is going to be 1. So that goes right here. If you put 0 in this equation, which is here, you're going to get 2. So 1, 2, right there. If you put 1 in this equation, you're going to get 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now we have to figure out which way the step function is going, which this one's going to help us out. So 0.5, which is right here between 0 and 1, 0.5 plus 2 is going to make 2.5. 2.5 rounded down makes it 2. So I know that dot's here, which means this is going this way, open circle. That way, open circle. That way, open circle. And from there, I should know that you know what you're doing. So only having one of those is number 9. Now, number 10 is going to be an absolute value. Now, the lowest this will ever be is going to be 0, because this will never end up to be a negative number out of here. So you have to figure out when this will equal 0, and that will be the vertex. So this equaling 0 is going to be 2x plus 4 equals 0. Subtract 4 on both sides. 2x equals negative 4. Divided by 2 on both sides. X equals negative 2. So when x is negative 2, that is where y equals 0, which is its lowest amount. And there we go. Makes a V shape. All right. Next one here is you're graphing two lines. okay? And one of them's starting at -3, the other one starts at -3, but they're both going in different directions. So what I recommend is to graph these two lines. Graph this one, 2x plus 3. So we're starting at 3, make a dot, and then you go up 2, over 1. There's my graph. So this I'm going to graph very lightly. Very lightly I'm going to graph it because I'm going to erase some of this. Then I'm going to graph the next one. This one says plus 1, so we start on 1. And then we're going down 1 and to the right 3. So that ends up right there. Okay? Again, I'm going to graph this very lightly because I'm going to erase some of it. So this line is the one that has to run if x is greater than or equal to -3. So -3, when x equals -3 is 1, 2, 3. So about here. So if x is greater than, we need to be using this one. So this is filled in, and now we're going to shade in this way. So that's the real line. Now, the other one, if x is less than 3, so that's going to be an open circle on here, and it's going to be going less than 3, which means that way. The rest of it, all the rest of it is going to be erased. So this gets erased because it's pointless, and this gets erased. All of this other part gets erased. That's why I drew it so light, so it'd be an easy erase. And there's my line. This line is going from -3 above, and this line is the one that's going when it's below -3. And that's it. This is just graphing two lines and then just erasing them at the point that they say. One's going to go after the point, one of them is going to go before. The one with the underline gets shaded in. The one that's not underlined stays open. And that's it. Good luck on the test.